Wondering how I made this Boba Fett helmet? Take a seat and find out. Hey guys, Adam here. I recently was commissioned to take a jab at building a Boba Fett helmet from Boba's appearance in Disney Plus's The Mandalorian. Being that I've built a Boba helmet in the past, I thought it'd be fun to build another from a different time period in the films. So let's get down to business.
As you wish.
So first things first, we need a helmet to be made. My typical go-to method is by 3D printing a pre-made file. For those who don't know, I purchased this helmet from the Galactic Armory store. If you haven't looked at his videos, give him a view, as his content is awesome. With the file bought, I first load the helmet and all its other pieces onto what's called a slicer. This one, called Cura, basically allows you to turn this computer-generated model into a 3D printable object. With a few setting changes, like the density of the object and the thickness of the 3D printed lines, I can generate a file which gives me a time estimate for the build. With the file generated, I can save it to an SD card, and the fun begins. For about 6 days. Yeah, patience is everything when it comes to this hobby. However, it's extremely satisfying to go to work and back each day and just see how much it's changed since the last time you left. So here's our finished model, and with a few supports taken out, boom, there's our base build. Next comes the longest part of the whole process, which is prepping the print for painting. Like mentioned before, the whole part is printed from several small lines of melted plastic. That said, we get rid of those visible ridges by several rounds of sanding and filling in the gaps of the material. One new way I recently adopted is by coating the entire print in resin and sanding it down. It makes the print super smooth in a matter of minutes rather than using putty and other materials which take a good few hours to dry and to prep. With the prepping finished, I start with a good first coat of flat black and metallic colored spray paint. The whole paint job then layers up from these two initial coats. We really want to capture that scratched up and dinged surface that Boba's helmet has. And we do so with, you guessed it, toothpaste and salt. Alright, but hear me out, right? In order to layer up the scratches and dings, I take toothpaste and a Q-tip and mask off the areas I want to see silver whenever the paint job is going to be finished. I take a bit of salt and sprinkle it on as many areas of the helmet as I can too. It's going to give you a few scratches later on that you'll be able to scratch off with your fingertip. It helps to take a slightly damp rag and wet the helmet surface so that way the salt can stick. To show you how it works, here's me taking off some of the toothpaste after the green paint's applied. See? There's the scratches. Now I'll go ahead and apply my red paint, and once dry, start to take off the masking tape and toothpaste. This is really where the build starts to take shape, and taking off the tape is honestly the most satisfying part of the whole build. Unfortunately, I missed recording the steps of how I added the yellow stripes and antenna to the helmet, but it's basically an identical process of masking the areas I want to see later on and just painting over it. Once dry, you either peel off your tape or you remove your material as necessary, so it's pretty straightforward. While the rest of the helmet was getting glued together, I took a second to make a custom helmet stand made of a toilet flange and various pieces of PVC pipe. I wanted it to look like something Boba may store his helmet on when he's not using it. That said, it needed to have a rustic look to it. I did this with a metallic wax called Rub and Buff. I would apply small amounts of it to a ripped up sponge and just barely wipe it onto the corners and edges of the stand that I wanted to rough up. Doing so gives the piece a bit of a textured and weathered look to it. After that, I had to add a classic Mando decal to the center of the stand to really make it stand out. With all that out the way, now it's time for the big reveal, and honestly, I must say, I'm extremely impressed. Came out much better than I expected, and honestly, if I were to make another one, I'd probably do another one for myself this way. But hey, don't take my word for it. Let's see what our client has to say.
Adam, this is beautiful, man.
Thanks, man.
I guess Boba wasn't a blind fellow like myself. Look at that. That's awesome.
Good. I'm glad you like it, man.
Adam,
Christmas Day.
this is unreal.
You gotta love seeing the smile on somebody's face whenever they open something like that. It's the mark of a true fan, and it makes me that much happier that I got to do this build. If you watched this far, thanks for checking it out, and I hope to see you again. Appreciate it.